comparing yourself to Orlando Bloom?
I compare myself to Randy Quaid. Feel a little bit better.
I love
It's a hell of a day to quit drinking.
Yeah. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, whenever or wherever you're watching or listening. This is the Awesemo NHL DFS Strategy Show, and I'm your host, Michael Clifford, aka Slim Cliffy, and joining me for the next hour to talk about his favorite parts of the 2022 All-Star Weekend, our signatory assassin, Mr. Joshua Harris. Josh, how you doing today, buddy?
Pretty good. My favorite part was just, disconnecting from DFS for a few days. I told myself I wanted to read a book, but I have like the attention span of a squirrel. So I read like the first 40 pages of a Harry Potter book, and I just like and just like did nothing. I did nothing, which is fine. Like, I was excited about it. Glad we had that little 4 or 5 day break, because you're going to be seeing a lot of us. Our next day without a show, I think, is March 9th, besides Sundays.
Yeah.
Hope you guys like our faces.
Yeah. Honestly, other than Sunday, I think it's 5 straight weeks with the show starting today. So yeah, it's going to be a lot of NHL DFS coming up over the next 6 weeks or so. It's going to be a lot of Josh and I here in your faces and in your ears talking about NHL. I will say, like, I think it was a pretty good All-Star weekend, all things considered. I think moving the skills comp to Friday night is a really good idea. People are typically home on Friday nights. They get home from work or whatever, and then they just stay in. So it gives them hopefully a little bit bigger of an audience to watch. And honestly, like, I get why they gave it to Alex Pietrangelo, gave the breakaway challenge to him. It's one of those things, like, I it's hard to get mad about it because it's just the All-Star game, but these are the kinds of things that are incentives and contracts. Players win money for this type of stuff. Like, obviously people bet on this type of stuff. Like, could you imagine betting on anybody but Alex Pietrangelo to win that breakaway challenge, and then he wins it? Like, I think there's a lot of good and bad for the All-Star weekend, but it seems to me like they're working through some kinks, and there are a lot better things than there have been. I don't know why they don't do that All-Star draft like they did 6 or 7 years ago when all the boys got drunk and made fun of each other on stage. I thought that was great. What do you think?
Yeah, that was awesome. Ovi was just lit, but he was trying to hide it. He got the red solo cup. No, but like, Torts has to be so pissed right now, because that Zegras goal was one of the most ridiculous things I've ever seen. Like, I had to watch it on replay like 10 times to figure out how he kept that puck on his stick, and then I realized he was blindfolded. I didn't even realize he was blindfolded.
Yeah, I didn't watch the skills comp. I was at the movies. Went to go see Spider-Man and Matrix, so that's how I spent my 4 days off, was just watching movies. But yeah, coming home to see that highlight, I didn't like. It was like the 4th time I watched it when I realized that he was blindfolded. I honestly couldn't believe it. It was one of the most ridiculous things I've ever seen. They definitely need to market the heck out of Trevor Zegras. We are brought to you by Yahoo Fantasy. Yahoo has been our sponsor this entire season. They've been very good to us, so let's try to be good to them. They have a special giveaway for first-time Yahoo users. We'll talk about that a little bit later in the show. We should shout out a few people did well last night. I saw Jason Zyman. I believe he took down the 275 stick lift for 5K. He's been on a pretty good run of NHL here over the last, like, basically since the holiday break, it seems like. I noticed Chris Nagus had a pretty good night himself, won a few tickets, and I saw you went a little over 3x last night. How'd you do on last night's 2-gamer?
Yeah, I plugged in my boy Mitch Marner. I will say this: ever since Mitch was like, "F this, I'm shooting first," dude's been on a tear. like since they moved him in a different spot on the power play and he decided to shoot the puck and DraftKings dropped his price by 30%, he's the man. He no longer sucks. But because of these games, he's going to be up to like 7,400 in like a week, and then he's going to be back to sucking. So I'll enjoy Marner while I have the week at him under 7K, and then we can go back to just, tearing him a new one. So excited.
Yeah, and there'll be a lot of that probably over the next 5 or 6 weeks. All he has to do is hit a little bit of a dry spell for 2 or 3 games. Don't worry, Josh will be right back on his case. We have a 7-game slate to talk about in a little bit. Before we get too much further, if you guys could throw us a like, throw us a thumbs up in the chat, it really helps us out. And hit the subscribe button. Subscriptions really help to grow this channel. It helps keep these shows coming on a regular basis across all sports. So please click that subscribe button and click that bell if you want to get notifications whenever we do go on the air. We have free premium tools and data up on the site for today. We have them most every day, today being no exception. We have our NBA ownership rankings, we have our PGA top golfers, and we have our NHL top stacks, all free up on the site, our free premium tools and data for today. And we also have a monthly podcast giveaway. To subscribe to our podcast channel, leave a 5-star review with your Awesemo username and Twitter handle to be entered to win a free month of Awesemo Plus Platinum. Oh, all right, Josh, we got 7 games to get through. Let's get through this first game. We have the Columbus Blue Jackets with a 2.4 implied goal total. They're going into Washington. The Washington Capitals have a 3.7 implied goal total. The big news is Alex Ovechkin cleared to play. There was some concern here with him because he had tested positive for COVID before the All-Star break, and everybody got tested coming back. So if he tested positive again, he wasn't going to be playing. But it looks like he's going to be in tonight. Alex Ovechkin back on the top line with Evgeny Kuznetsov and Connor Sheary. It looks like that's what they ran this morning. Tom Wilson down on the second line with Joe Dirt Snively and Nicholas Backstrom. It seems like there's probably going to be a fair amount of ownership here on Washington tonight, but with these broken lines, it's hard to say whether there's going to be a ton of ownership on certain 3-man segments. Like obviously, Alex Ovechkin is going to be fairly owned here tonight, but I wonder about guys like, Tom Wilson, Nicholas Backstrom, Evgeny Kuznetsov. Now that Kuznetsov has been pushed to the second power play unit, he's not on the top unit anymore with Ovechkin, though we know Ovechkin tends to play both halves of the power play. And Columbus is coming in very much under-owned, or I shouldn't say under-owned, very low-owned, with very cheap prices. Is there anything that interests you on that Columbus side for those cheap prices? What do you like in this game, Josh?
I mean, 2.4 total on the road, getting a pretty good defensive team. The thing is, like, Capitals are starting Phoenix Copley, min price on DraftKings. I don't know what he is on FanDuel, but I know Jeremy Swayman is min price on FanDuel for whatever reason tonight. Hey, FanDuel. So I feel like Copley is going to be pretty popular because he's 6,500 against a good defensive team with a good defensive team in front of him. I just, I hate using let's leverage the field against the goalie, but like something that always resonated with me in MLB DFS is people always said stack against the chalk pitcher if the pitcher is not an ace, right? Is Copley the man? Like he may win. He may, end up being in the optimal, but if he's going to be 15, 20% at 6,500, I think, taking some stabs, maybe not in 1 to 3 because, 7 games played, 2.4 total on the road, not ideal. Like you don't have to go galaxy brain and leverage yourself out of your favorite lineup if you're building one lineup. But like if Copley's going to be fairly chalky on DraftKings, I think, taking a stab on Jenner, Line, taking a stab on Sillinger, Voracek, Bjorkstrand, I think that's my preferred line, like as a full stack. Getting them at really low ownership against the goalie that's really chalky. I know this isn't MLB DFS, but you kind of can compare goalies to pitchers because if you get your goalie wrong, you're probably not going to win. If you get your pitchers wrong, probably not going to win. So, I think in MME, I think having a little bit of the Blue Jackets makes some sense, especially if, Copley's going to see double digits in ownership. On the cap side, like, I don't like stacking them 5-on-5 anyway. And these lines and power play units are just a mess. I think I'm going to do what I always do with the Capitals, and that's going to be power play stack. And I know, like, you saw the Caps beat writers say that Ovechkin's down on the second unit. He's going to play the 2 minutes. Like, they can practice without him. He's going to play the 2 minutes. So if you want to put him with Kuznetsov, I think that's fine. You want to put him with Shearer, that's fine. I might do something like Ovechkin, Backstrom, Wilson. If you're really hard pressed for salary, Ovechkin, Eller, something like that. Like Eller 2,800 on power play 1 against, we talked about earlier in the season how the Blue Jackets didn't take a lot of penalties, but that has changed a little bit recently in the past 6 weeks. Their penalty numbers have started coming up. The penalty kills, okay, like Merzlikins is a good goalie. I believe in Merzlikins, but if the Blue Jackets give the Capitals 3, 4, 5 opportunities on the power play, like they're probably going to score. So I think, obviously you anchor an Ovechkin, you mix and match the power play guys with them.
Yeah, it's definitely the power play guys are nothing for me from Washington. That's who we're looking at here. And it is important to note that Ovechkin is almost certainly going to play both halves of the power play. It's something they've been doing for 2 years now. Even when they practice with somebody on the second unit, it's like he's on the bench saying, "Hey, Sprong, you're not going out for this power play. I'm going instead." Like, that's just, I mean, when you scored as many goals in the NHL as he has, you get those rights every now and then. So that's where I would go with Washington. On the Columbus side, the problem for me here is I don't actually mind using like Columbus 2 here. The problem is that I don't really need to save the salary, right? Like there aren't, I guess if you're going with some super expensive Edmonton power play stack, you might need the savings. Other than that, you really don't need them. There's no line above $22,000. So you'd have to go to some sort of McDavid plus Draisaitl plus Bouchard, or McDavid plus Draisaitl plus, Nurse. You'd have to do something like that to get up into that range. Like, I don't see a need to play a $10,000 line on DraftKings here tonight. You know what I mean? So I think if you want to one-off Bjorkstrand or something like that, I think that's fine. I just don't see the need to full 3-man stack here. So yeah, Washington power play, maybe some Columbus too, if you're making a pile of lineups. And they have that Columbus too has had good numbers. Like they played together this year, about 50 minutes together, about 57%, 59% shot share and scoring chance share. So they are a good line. It's just, like you said, tough matchup. And I don't think you necessarily need the huge salary savings. So it's mostly Washington power play. On the blue line, Andrew Peeke for Columbus. He's a guy that's just been playing a ton of minutes for them of late. He's still under 3K. Seems like he's in a block bonus position on DraftKings. Anybody else stick out to you on the blue line?
Yeah, Peeke or Gavrikov for the Blue Jackets if you need a shot blocking punt. On the cap side, you want to correlate Carlson, that's fine. Other than that, I think Orlov at 3,100 is fine, but other than that, I'm going to look for other teams.
All right, let's get to this next game then and look at a couple of these teams. Pittsburgh, 2.6 implied goal total going into Boston. The Bruins have a 3.0 implied goal total. Evgeny Malkin hitting the COVID list coming off the All-Star break. He may be back for this weekend, but he'll be out for tonight. Jeff Carter taking his place on the second line. Evan Rodriguez, in turn, taking Carter's place as the third line center. I guess you could debate who was the third line center before that anyway, but Crosby top line, Carter second line, Erod third line, and Evan Rodriguez also taking Malkin's top power play spot for the Penguins. Now, this is a pretty tough matchup going into Boston. I'd say it's also a tough matchup for Boston hosting Pittsburgh. There doesn't seem to be, I shouldn't say there isn't. There doesn't seem to be, there's going to be a ton of ownership on either side here. I see Pittsburgh's top line coming in under 4%. Now, the Boston top line might carry some ownership because they are relatively cheap, but then the second line coming in at 4% as well. So might not be a ton of ownership here, but obviously there are a lot of skilled players. What do you like here, Josh?
Yeah. in my 1-3 builds, like I haven't decided how many lineups I'm going to play tonight, but these top lines, they're gonna like in 1-3 probably cancel each other out, and I don't know if I'm gonna get there. But there's so much good leverage, and top stacks is free today. But the highest leverage spot on the slate, pit one, you're gonna get Bergeron, Marchand, and Craig Smith, which is ridiculous. Like their numbers defensively are better with Craig Smith than Pasternak there. So, 1-3, these top lines are going to cancel each other out in 20 max. Like I probably have one or two pit one just because you'll get over the field. Probably I'll get to these top lines more if I was making, 20 to 150. I just, don't really want to commit over 21,000, almost $22,000 on pit one and the 2.6 total on the road when there's a whole bunch of lines in the 17 to 19,000 range that I like much more. So this pit one, definitely MME. I think, Evan Rodriguez is a decent one-off, 4,200 top power play. His minutes may be an issue. Like as soon as he came off the top line, his minutes have kind of dropped off, but power play one with Malkin out, that definitely is a plus for him. So don't mind him as a one-off. On the Boston side, top line Boston going into Crosby, that's just a tough matchup too. I think I would reserve them for 20 to 150. I do like Boston too, however. Getting Carter, McGinn, Kapanen. I don't know if there's a huge sample on them. I don't think there is. But I can't imagine, Jeff Carter being super good defensively at this part of his career with Kapanen and McGinn. And, you get two guys on Boston two on power play one. You can go Hall, Pasternak for 12.5 at 2.5-3%, getting power play one. So if I was going to go anywhere in this game, it'd probably be Boston two. Oh, Cliffy got kicked. All right. What's up, guys? So yeah, 1-3, I would. What happened? Okay. Okay, yeah. So 1-3, I would consider Boston two, but the top lines I'll save for MME. We move to the blue line. Charlie McAvoy under 6K might be all right, but I'd probably save that for, you could do like Hall, Pasternak, McAvoy if you want to low own 3-man, but again, that's probably MME as well. Grizzlick is a little too expensive for my taste. I may punt Caro or Mike Riley, but on the Pittsburgh side, I would correlate Let's Hang with the power play. If you can fit it, that's really expensive. I don't think 1-3, obviously don't need to do that in MME. If you can fit them, there's plenty of value lines that you can fit in with them. Other than that, like maybe punting John Marino, but that's really about it. Tristan Yari at 7,500 on DraftKings is an interesting play. I feel like he's going to be semi-popular. Goalies against Boston generally end up doing well if they win. Shot volume concerns probably, but at that price, I think you can take the stab. And then Jeremy Swayman, min price on FanDuel, not the best spot, but min price on FanDuel, you got that going for you. Okay. So I think Cliffy just is going to reconnect and then we'll move on. I'll start the game for him and then we can hop back in. We got the Carolina Hurricanes going into Ottawa to face the Senators. The Hurricanes have a 3.6 total. The Senators have a 2.5. Both these teams are on a back-to-back, so it's probably going to be Antti Ranta against Anton Forsberg. And I see Cliffy has rejoined us.
Yeah, sorry about that. The old Atlantic Canada internet not really holding up too well during this latest snowstorm, snow feast, whatever you want to call this last week. Thanks for taking care of that. Hopefully, not too much to say else in the Pittsburgh-Boston game, so I'll just keep passing on that. We'll just dig right here into Carolina and Ottawa. Teuvo Teravainen, I think, is the guy that we kind of have to keep an eye on here. He was a game-time decision for Carolina yesterday. Was scratched, obviously didn't warm up, was scratched. I don't think he's going to play here tonight. You didn't think so either when we were talking before the show. What would you do here depending, like, are you going to slam in some Carolina regardless of Teravainen? Where do you stand on that team? What do you think about Ottawa here?
I don't know. Like 3.6 is a massive total on the road. They played yesterday. Trocheck kind of got banged up in that game too. I would assume he's going to play, but I know he left briefly, went down the tunnel, came back. It just really depends on lines. They're obviously not going to skate today. Like I would imagine they're going to just keep Jordan Martinook on the top line until Teravainen's ready. So for me, like I think Carolina 2, Svechnikov, Trocheck, Jarvis would be where I would stack. It's just in 1 to 3, I just don't know if I'm going to get to Carolina. Like there's some big old totals that I like that are, teams not traveling on the road back to back, but Carolina 2 makes some sense. I don't mind going Aho Netch's 2-man. You want to, like, Tony D's been on a tear. Like 6,500 just seems crazy, but he always seems like he gets there. So I don't know. Like in 1 to 3, I don't think I'm going to get too much Carolina, to be completely honest with you. I think I would save them for MME. I wouldn't blame you if you did get to them in 1 to 3 because, this is a massive total. Ownership in double digits, but it is, banged up Ottawa, Forsberg and Nat. They played yesterday as well. So Carolina 2, maybe, parts of Carolina 1. Ottawa, I don't know. Like that top line is fully correlated. I just, do you really need a 13-2 line tonight? Like there's other ones that are fresh and better matchups. Like, yeah, Carolina takes a bunch of penalties and it is Ronta. So yeah, I think, fully correlated Ottawa 1 makes some sense, but I just don't know how much of this game I'm going to get to. Both these teams on a back-to-back. MME, I would definitely have some Ottawa 1, maybe even some Ottawa 2. Like Nick Paul had a good game yesterday. Connor Brown's back, which is a nice bump for them. Alex Fermenton, you know how I feel about Alex Fermenton. But like 1 to 3, no. MME, a little bit. Like if I had to pick 2 lines, it'd be Carolina 2 and Ottawa 1. And then I'd probably just, have a little bit over the field and then just move on and look to jam in like the Minnesotas, the Edmontons, the Vegases, this and that. Like I don't think I'd make this game a priority.
Yeah, I really want to see what's going to happen with Tuvo and whether or not he may be in the lineup. It is an early start, right? It's a 7 Eastern start, so we're definitely going to have his update before lock at least. So that's at least something here. It's the Carolina second line that is very much worth mentioning. Trocheck and Svechnikov have been very, very good together this year. 220 minutes together, 73 shot attempts generated, 3.5 expected goals per 60 minutes, scoring over 4 goals per 60 minutes. Like those are excellent, excellent numbers. And Ottawa's second line hasn't really been that great. They've just been shooting 18%, which will make any line look very, very good when they're on the ice. So if they don't keep shooting 18%, I think their 40% shot share could really hurt them. And I think that could be a good thing for Carolina too. So I do like Carolina 2 here tonight. If you check out our top stacks, and again, our top stacks are free today up at Awesemo.com, you'll see that their ownership's coming in very much in check between 10 and 11%. So Carolina 2, I don't mind Ottawa 1 here either, but it's one of those situations where last night they were sending them out against third lines, and that might be against the Jordan Staal line. And I know it hasn't been as great defensively as in recent seasons, but they're still good. So I would probably just stick with Carolina 2 here, though Ottawa 1 definitely in play. On the blue line, I wrote up Nikita Zaitsev in the Power Plays article. Power Plays article up at Awesemo.com, free to read whenever we do post them. 2,500 on DraftKings. He only played 19 minutes last night, but they didn't take any penalties. Like he didn't have any penalty kill time. So I assume he's going to be like a 22-minute guy if they take a few penalties here. So Zaitsev on DraftKings, min price sticking out to me. Anybody else stick out to you?
Yeah, Zaitsev for sure. Like Tony D'Angelo, if you're gonna correlate, like he's been really good for DFS. Actual hockey is debatable, but for DFS, very, very good. Maybe punt Brent Pesci, but I'd rather play Zaitsev.
All right. With Daytona right around the corner, we are offering our Awesemo Plus NASCAR package for less than $2 per race this season. That's $70 for a full year of Awesemo Plus NASCAR. This gives you access to our driver projections, our ownership projections, and our top drivers tool that will give you the edge you need in NASCAR DFS. Use promo code Green Flag, that's all capital letters, all one word, Green Flag, at checkout, or simply click the link in the description of this video to activate. This offer is valid through February 20th, which is another 12 days, which is next weekend, I believe. So if you want to get into some NASCAR, use the promo code Green Flag, all capital letters, all one word, or click the link in the description of this video. All right, let's get to this next game. New Jersey, 3.1 implied goal total going into Montreal. The Habs also have a 3.1 implied goal total. New Jersey played last night, started Nico Daws and got their brains beat in. New Jersey going into Montreal tonight, going to be starting John Gillies, it looks like. Montreal at home, and I have one of the guys in this game from the Habs in my Power Plays article. Caden Primo expected to start. Probably stuff to like on both sides of this game. Josh, what do you like here?
Yeah, I mean, the first thing you notice, especially, if you're looking at top stacks or the lineup builder, NJ1 coming in as the lowest leverage spot on the night. They're coming in at 22.2%, which, like, I guess makes sense, but like at the same time, in the same total at home, fresh, not playing a Devils team back to back, the top line in Montreal coming in around 7%. Now, all things being equal, I'd rather just play Montreal 1 here. They're at home, they're fresh, they have the same total. Nico Hischier and Jesper Bratt have pretty good numbers together. Nico Hischier and Yegor Sharangovich do not. Very small sample. I would imagine that line would end up being okay, but like at 22%, I'd rather take the line at lower ownership. And I know they have good numbers together. They have a sample together. So I think from this game, I'd rather go to Montreal 1 in 1 to 3. If you want to play Devils 1, that's fine. Like there's plenty of ways to get different. And we were talking about before the show, like the Canadiens have had the worst goaltending in the league in the past like 6 weeks or since Blackwood went down, which is like a month, 6 weeks. Yeah. So like, yeah, New Jersey 1's fine, but like just because of ownership and, fully correlated and, they have decent numbers together, I'd rather play Montreal 1. The Devils side, like I think again, and I don't know if you need the salary tonight, but Mercer, Tatar, Janssen would probably be the Devils line that I would want to take pieces from. I think Mercer, Tatar, 2-man, if you're trying to power play something really expensive, makes some sense. Like you're just going to get depth of the Canadiens and Dvorak's out, so like their center depth is just absolutely horrific after Suzuki. So getting those depth matchups, is really good, and it is Caden Primo. So maybe a little Mercer Tatar 2-man makes some sense. In theory, I like Pavel Zacha. He is on power play 1. That's a decent one-off, 2,700. Like the Canadiens penalty kill is absolutely terrible. So, I mean, getting in the power play guys makes some sense. And Zacha, 2,700. His line mates 5-on-5 aren't great, but, for that price on power play 1, I'll take a stab. So, New Jersey 1 in a vacuum is fine. I'm probably going to fade them because of ownership. I do like Mercer Tatar, I do like Zacha as a one-off, and I do like Montreal 1.
So this is my problem here with New Jersey is that Montreal's penalty kill, like you mentioned, not very good. That would be one of the ways you can take advantage of the Habs. But I was looking at New Jersey's power play numbers with and without Jack Hughes and Dougie Hamilton, and they're bad. Like the New Jersey power play without Jack Hughes or Dougie Hamilton on the ice, their goals go down by about a third. Their expected goals and their shot attempts rate, their expected goals goes down by about 40%. Their shot attempts rate goes down also by about a third. it is cataclysmic what happens to that power play without those two guys. And I don't think it's hugely surprising. They don't have a lot of puck. I mean, they do. They have some good puck movers on the blue line, but I think PK Subban is probably the only one who could really run a power play. And they don't have anyone anywhere's close to Hughes' skill up front. So I think, that makes sense to me. So if you're going to tell me this power play is going to be completely anemic going into Montreal, then you're focusing on the 5-on-5 lines. And if you're focusing on the 5-on-5 lines, I agree with you with dumping down to the cheaper guys like the Janssen, Mercer, Tatar guys that you spoke of. They do have a decent sample together this year, about 52 to 54% shot share and expected goal share. They're going to get the depth from the Habs, and the depth from the Habs, like maybe the first line is fine. Once you get to those third and fourth lines and you're running into the Laurent Dauphin's of the world and the Ryan Palings of the world and the Mike Hoffmans of the world, for as good as Mike Hoffman is on the power play, he's still atrocious at 5-on-5. Like, I think that New Jersey third line can get there. But again, it's that same situation that we talked about with that Columbus line. It's like, do you need a $10,000 line tonight? And I'm not sure the answer is yes outside of Edmonton. So I think it's a case I may be only playing New Jersey depending on what the rest of my lineup is. New Jersey isn't going to be the team that I'm going to be focusing all my lines around. That ownership is just coming in way too high, 22% on the road. I don't care if it's a 3 total, 22% on the road on a 7-game slate is just far too high for me. So I think I agree with you on New Jersey 3, not a bad little filler. You can 2-man, you can just one-off some guy from there if you want. I think that's fine. It's Montreal top line on the other side. I wrote up Arturi Lehkonen in the Power Plays article. Line 1, full power play 1. His price has come up on FanDuel. He's $5,000 on FanDuel. That feels... it feels right for a guy getting top line and top power play minutes, but this is also a bottom 5 offensive team. So like, I don't know if I'd want to pay that price on FanDuel, but DraftKings, he is certainly more than fine. On the blue line, is there anybody that you'd want to play less for 2,500 than Chris Weidman? Because it feels like I always stick that guy in with my Montreal stacks, and it feels like that guy hasn't done anything at all this season. But again, as long as he's getting those power play minutes with Suzuki and co, he's kind of hard to just flat out ignore. I guess on the New Jersey side, Damon Severson, 4,400, still very much in play, especially with that 3 total. What do you think about defensemen here?
Yeah, Severson's fine. It's like Chris Weidman, like. I just have a hard time clicking him in. Like if Cale Clague was running power play 1, it'd be a much easier click.
This is where we're getting to. It's like, I'd rather play some Cale Clague, times.
Yeah, or even like Brett Kulak at min price. Like I'd rather play, like, I don't know. Like you don't have to add him. That's for sure. Unless you're just trying to jam in some really expensive guys. I think, you don't have to, if you're playing full Montreal 1, you don't have to put Wyman in, but he is min price and he's on the power play. So maybe he'll luck box into an assist or 2.
Yeah, hopefully that would be nice. I see 120 people in chat and only 41 thumbs up. If you guys could please click the like button, it would really help us out a lot. Besides that, we have partnered with Yahoo Fantasy this NHL season to bring you some great offers. Check out our exclusive limited time offer, which gets you 1 free month of Awesemo Plus Platinum. To qualify, you need to be new to Yahoo, sign up for an account via the link below, deposit and play. That's it. Yahoo will send us your name after you've played in your first paid contest, and we will reach out via email with your coupon. If you'd like to speed up the process of getting access, email support@awesemo.com and we'll get you set up right away. You can also claim a free $10 of site credit by clicking the link in the video description below, which can be used to enter any Yahoo contest, including tonight's NHL $2,000 baller and the $1 million baller for the Super Bowl this weekend. We also have a free roll running for the big game on Yahoo, with first place getting $1,000 and a year of Awesemo Plus Platinum. You can find the link to that contest in the video description below, and make sure to use our DFS tools and projections designed specifically for Yahoo to give yourself the best shot at winning big. Super Bowl coming up this weekend. Might as well get some free Yahoo bucks if you're going to be playing some Super Bowl DFS. If you're a new first-time user to Yahoo, just click the links in the description below. All right, we have 3 games left. Let's get to this first one. Minnesota, 3.3 implied goal total. Going into Winnipeg, the Winnipeg Jets have a 2.8 implied goal total. Pierre-Luc Dubois and Neil Pionk both out for the Jets tonight. Looks like Andrew Kopp is going to take Dubois' spot, not only on the second line, but also on the top power play unit. On the Minnesota side, looks like Matt Dumba out. Should be some more minutes for guys like Spurgeon and Brodin. What do you think here, Josh?
Yeah, so this is a pretty interesting game here. I do really like Minnesota 1 just because they've been great. Their numbers recently, though, have not been great. But like Stastny, Scheifele, they're going to get Stastny, Scheifele, Wheeler. And despite Stastny being there, it helps stabilize them a little bit. Like their historical numbers together are just very high event. So I think, getting to Minnesota 1, especially at low ownership, I think they're our highest. Besides Pittsburgh, they're our highest leverage spot of the night. Yeah, they are. They are 21-5. So yeah, I think you can definitely go to Minnesota 1 tonight. I just, there's a couple other spots that I prefer more, but at that leverage, I think, and how good they've been this season, I think you can definitely play them. I also don't mind, a little bit of Boldy, Fiala, Gaudreau. You want to one-off Joe Eriksson Ek, I think that's fine as well. But for me, I think this is a Minnesota 1 game. On the Jets side, let me start with Connor, Kopp, and Perfetti. So Scheifele, Wheeler, Stastny going to get the Hartman line. So that leaves Connor, Kopp, Perfetti to either get the checking line, which I doubt they send them out against. So they're probably going to get a fair bit of Fiala, Gaudreau, Boldy, and that is not a cupcake matchup. Like they are very good defensively as well. So you look at their, expected goals numbers, they're under 2, and it's a fairly sizable sample. Not as good as the checking line, but not that far off, honestly. It's closer than I thought it would be. And Andrew Kopp moving up to the second line center, he's definitely more suited. His game's definitely more suited to be a winger. So I don't know, like the name value's there, but I always worry like throwing these guys together kind of got like Kopp out of place. It always worries me in a tough matchup. Like I just don't know if I want to get there. The thing is, like, if Kopp being the second line center, Scheifele is just going to play like massive minutes tonight. So I think if anything, you go to the Winnipeg top line here. Not only is he going to definitely play over 20, the Minnesota penalty kill is not good at all. Capo Kakinen's in net. It's not Cam Talbot. Talbot's not a world beater, but he's definitely better than Capo Kakinen. So, as much as it pains me, because I know how bad they are defensively and I know how pure they run on the empty net, I just think, if we can go to anything on the Winnipeg side, it's going to be the Jets top line. You want to add in, Connor for more power play. You want to add in Kopp for more power play. That's fine. But for me, Minnesota 1, Winnipeg 1, maybe some Winnipeg power play.
Yeah, it's the Winnipeg power play is probably where I'm looking right now. It's just it feels like it's going to be one of those nights where Winnipeg just plays a lot of their top 6. Like I could see something where like Scheifele plays like 23, 24 minutes and Kopp plays like 19 or 20 or something like that. You know what I mean? And then, the third line plays like 13 and the fourth line plays like 6. Like when they have Winnipeg tends, we'll see what happens. It is a new coach. It's not Paul Maurice. Paul Maurice was fired there like 6 weeks ago or whatever. But typically what they have done is when they have to load up the top 6 like they do tonight because of injuries, like Kopp, they like Kopp on the third line and they will play the third line if he's down there. I'm not so sure they're going to play much of that third line here tonight. So it is more about the Winnipeg top 6. And if it's about the Winnipeg top 6, that means it's about the Winnipeg power play for me. So something like Scheifele and Connor plus Morrissey. We should note that it's going to be Josh Morrissey on the top power play unit. So if you're playing the top power play guys from Winnipeg, that's where you want to go. So Winnipeg 1, Winnipeg power play is probably where I go with this. I definitely wouldn't go down to Winnipeg 2. I'm not so sure about playing Connor well over 8K without his normal center there. That feels It feels a little bit dangerous to me unless I'm putting him in a power play stack. So that's where I am on Winnipeg. On the Minnesota side, I wrote up Fiala, Gaudreau, and Boldy for the power plays article, so I may as well stick there with them. 35 scoring chances per 60 minutes and nearly 90 minutes together this year. They're very good offensive numbers. They're coming in with reasonable ownership by our top stacks as well, coming in at about 3%, 3 to 4%, depending where they end up. So yeah, I do like Minnesota 2 here, Winnipeg 1. On the blue line, like I said, Josh Morrissey running the power play. He's a guy that sticks out to me. Jonas Brodin plays a lot of minutes should play a lot of minutes for Minnesota here tonight. He sticks out for me at 4,300. Anybody else?
Yeah, Brodin's fine, Spurgeon's fine, Goligoski's fine. Morrissey's the guy on Winnipeg. That's probably about it, unless you want to, Brandon Dillon with your goalie. But at 3,400, I'd much prefer him being like 2,800, 2,900.
Yeah, I agree. Once Dillon gets to those mid threes, that's kind of tends to be when we drop off. Should note, it does look like Dylan DeMello might play on the top pair here tonight for Winnipeg. So, 2,500 for a guy that might play 18 to 20 minutes. Not a bad punt there if you want to get away from Zaitsev. All right, let's get to this next one. This one looks to be an absolute dandy. Vegas, 3.3 implied goal total going into Edmonton. The Oilers have a 3.2 implied goal total. With Evander Kane in Edmonton now, they're effectively running 3 lines. I should say they actually have a playable third line now. It's not necessarily the same thing as playing 3 lines. But they have changed up the second line a little bit. Ryan McLeod, Zach Cassian skating with Leon Draisaitl. I mean, that seems like really tough sledding for Draisaitl on that second line. What do you think about this game, Josh?
I understand the Edmonton coach wanting to get depth in the lineup, but just not like this. Like McDavid with Kane and Yamamoto. Kane and Yamamoto are bad defensively. McLeod, Draisaitl, Cassian, that trio is probably horrific defensively. That third line is probably decent defensively. Hyman, Nugent Hopkins, Puljujarvi. But like, if you want to balance it out, just swap Puljujarvi, Cassian, or move Hyman up instead of Yamamoto. Like, just not this crap. Like, what do you do here? So like, Edmonton, you do what you normally do. You play McDavid and Draisaitl, and you fill in the rest. I don't want a full stack Kane, McDavid, Yamamoto. I don't want to play Yamamoto. I don't want to play McLeod and Cassian with Draisaitl. Like, yeah, Hyman, Nugent Hopkins, Puljujarvi on paper is nice, but like, you don't want to stack Edmonton line without McDavid or Draisaitl. So
I was just thinking that might be their best like 3-man line.
Yeah, so like,
and it doesn't have, yeah, like you said, you wouldn't play them without McDavid or Draisaitl.
Like, what do? You do what you do with. It's kind of what you do with the Capitals. You play McDavid with Nugent Hopkins and Puljujarvi. You play McDavid with Draisaitl and Puljujarvi, or you do McDavid, Draisaitl, and for whatever reason, the Oilers wanted to put Barry back on the top power play. They don't like winning, so yeah, let's play Barry on the top power play. Why? So like, yeah, you can do that with the Oilers. If I had a full stack anything, like, again, it would be that third line. But I don't want a full stack an Edmonton line without McDavid or Draisaitl. So I'm just going to mix and match McDavid and Draisaitl in with some other players and power play stack. On the Golden Knights side, both these top lines are in incredibly good spots. Pacioretty, Stevenson, Stone going to get the McDavid line, and it is McDavid, but that iteration of that line is high event. So McDavid giveth and McDavid taketh. So I think you can definitely go to Vegas 1 tonight. It's one of my favorite spots tonight. Vegas 2 coming in half the ownership of Vegas 1, which is interesting because Vegas 2 is always over-owned, but I guess Marchessault's price kind of drives that down. But if they're going to get that Draisaitl, Cassian, McLeod line at a reasonable clip, like there's no reason why that Vegas second line shouldn't run them over. And let's not forget, Mike Smith is back off an injury because Koskinen is on the COVID list. Mike Smith is like 49 years old. He had a good season the other, like one of the most mind-boggling seasons you'll ever see out of a goalie a few seasons ago, but he's back. He's back to reality. He's coming off a long layoff. The Oilers aren't great defensively as it is. So I think, pick your Vegas line, one or two. You want a one-off Dadenoff, that's fine. And just go about your day. So this game feels really important from a DFS standpoint. It's a 6.5 over under. I prefer the Vegas side just because the Oilers lines are just crap.
So this is where I'm going to start with Vegas 2, because Vegas 2, knowing what the Edmonton second line looked like, Vegas 2 was one of the most interesting lines to me from the outset of this slate when I started researching it. Their last 120 minutes together, which is about 10 games, roughly, give or take. 57% shot share, they're generating 35 scoring chances per 60 minutes, which is the same number of scoring chances as the Edmonton top line, but they're shooting 2.3%. That's been the entire problem with Vegas 2 basically since Christmas. It's shooting percentage. It's nothing else. So if you're going to give me what is a pretty good Vegas 2 line going into what doesn't look like a very good Edmonton 2 line, and Vegas 2 is coming in with good ownership, like they're coming in at 3 to 4% by our top stacks. And once again, top stacks free up on the site today. Yeah, I do like Vegas 2. I wrote up Max Pacioretty in the Power Plays article. If you want to check out that article and what I have to say about Pacioretty in the top line, just head on over to Awesemo.com and go check it out. I think the top line is just fine in this game as well, but I think the second line at their price, at their ownership in this matchup, really makes a lot of sense. So Vegas 2 for me, Edmonton power play on the other side. I agree with you. You kind of have to go with the broken stacks. I'm not stacking Draisaitl, McLeod, and Cassian. I'm not I guess you can probably get away with the top line if Yamamoto actually gets on the board, but Yamamoto not nearly as good as we might think he could be or should be. He's just not. And yeah, with Mike Smith in net, hasn't played in over a month and hasn't been good this year otherwise. I think this is a very nice night for Vegas 2. On the blue line, nobody really sticking out to me. I guess, if you're going to have Whitecloud and Martinez out, Theodore's probably going to play a lot of minutes and take some of those shots and all that. So him, maybe McNabb plays a lot more minutes. What do you think about defensemen here?
Yeah, with those guys out, I don't mind Nicholas Hague, 3,400. Theodore under 6K, definitely. On the Edmonton side, I guess you could correlate Barry power play. He's getting into that. Even with his price at 3,800, they're just pricing him like Keith Yandel now. Just you suck. He's on the third pair. He's not going to play much 5-on-5. He's just there for the power play now. Bouchard's price, he's 6,100. Nurse 7,200. If you have room, I guess they're fine one-offs, but it's just hard to find room if you're going to use McDavid and Draisaitl. You know what I mean? So I guess you could.
That's the case where you bring in that $10,000 Columbus 2 line or something like that.
Yeah, you put in Nurse. Nurse, take his price away. It's a really good spot for him to rack up some periffs here. 7,200 though is just pretty spicy, especially when he's not on the top power play. You can get guys like Nugent Hopkins or Puljujärvi on the top power play for 5K. So they're probably Nurse and Bouchard probably going to be fairly low owned at their prices, and I don't mind them if you have the space. So, but if you want to correlate Barry.
You feel I could see and sense the sadness in your voice just saying you can correlate Barry.
No, but you know what it was the Leafs let him go, and then he had that really big season. The Oilers fans were like, "Hey, look what you did, Leafs!" Yeah, no, look at him this year. It's just absolute. The wheels have fallen off.
It is. It goes to show that that's what happens to a one-dimensional defenseman if the good dimension starts falling off at all. We have one game left to get through before we get through it. Let's talk about the Awesemo Hall of Fame. The Awesemo Hall of Fame is where we like to celebrate winners here at Awesemo.com. And if you'd like to get into the Awesemo Hall of Fame, this is how you do it. You download the Awesemo profile picture from Awesemo.com/avatar. You tweet your wins to the Awesemo Hoff account on Twitter, and you do all. And if it has to be a contest with at least 5,000 contestants with a top 3. And if you do all that, you can win a free month of Awesemo Plus Platinum. You'll see TO deck or TO deck, however you want to say it, says starting off 2022 cooler than our TO winter, but hopefully this last night takedown turns things around. $10,000 takedown in NBA. Good for him. See, Adam List looks like a showdown. It looks like a showdown split of first in NBA for over $900. You get into some betting. You see a same game parlay, a 2,300 same game parlay hit by Bogart. Nice job, Bogart. You see Ernest Price take down third place in the NBA quarter jukebox. Good job, Ernest. First place for Doc RX 89 in the $6 quarter in the 6K quarter jukebox. Sorry, and then you'll see a fourth place in the 300K NBA shot machine from Monday. Whether it's NBA, NHL, or the last game of the NFL season coming up this weekend, we have you covered here at Awesemo.com. Send those wins in here to Awesemo. Speaking of NBA, we got a bunch of shows coming up after us. We have the Yahoo NBA live show coming up right after this one with McCarthy and Lamarca, and they're followed by the No House Advantage NBA strategy show with Aton and Terry. And then after all that, at 4:45 Eastern, your NBA double dose with the deeper dive, and then live before lock starts with Laffy Adam at 4:45 Eastern. All right, let's get to this final game. Arizona going into Vancouver. Arizona 2.1 implied goal total. Vancouver 3.4 implied goal total. Just a note, Tanner Pearson, JT Miller, Brock Besser is the top line for Vancouver. Some lineup sites had that wrong, just updated recently. That's a line that looks very good to me, but it also looks like it's going to be very highly owned. What do you like in this game, Josh?
Yeah, I mean, if you want to go to that Vancouver line, I think that's perfectly fine. I just worry that they're going to see close to 20% ownership. It's a really good matchup for them. You know, Coyotes penalty kills awful, not great defensively. So it's just, you know, you want to get to that line. I think that's perfectly fine. I like them. I think you can move down the lineup a little bit here. You know, Horvat, Garland. You know, Garland's on the top power play. I'm gonna, you know, I like them too. I'm worried about that ownership as well. I like this third line. Just because, okay, so yeah, the top 6 of the Coyotes, not very good defensively, but that third line for the Coyotes, Riley Nash, Antoine Roussel, Andrew Ladd, or if it's Christian Fischer or Andrew, it doesn't matter. They are just so bad defensively. They give up so many chances. And this third line, Podkolzin, Pettersson, Hoglander, you know, very cheap. I would imagine they see the lowest ownership of a line on Vancouver in the top 3 anyway. You get Pettersson, you know, power play 1. He'll probably see some ownership. But I like Hoglander as a player. Podkolzin, we talk about, he just shoots. But for min price, I think that's fine. You don't have to full stack here. You know, a Pettersson, Hoglander 2-man against the bottom 6 of the Yotes, getting a little bit of that power play, getting a lower ownership in 3.4 total, I think, you know, is fine. If you want to use the top 6, it's fine. But I think I'm going to have some Pettersson, Hoglander tonight. And then on the Coyote side, I mean, I just maybe some Keller, Galchenyuk, Schmaltz, but I don't think I'm going to be getting too much Yotes.
Should mention Vancouver is stacking their top power play with Quinn Hughes out. Ekman Larson running the top power play with Besser and Miller, Horvat, and Pettersson. It allows you to do some different stacking stuff. If you're really worried about Vancouver 20% ownership, you can do Miller, Pettersson, Ekman Larson, or Miller, Besser, Horvat, or something like that. There are ways to get different with Vancouver if you're worried about really high ownership. And it's a great power play spot for them. So I really like the Vancouver power play. I think Arizona 1 is playable here. The Keller Schmaltz duo in particular, I just don't think they're very good. So if I get to them, I get to them organically. I'm definitely not forcing them in. Vancouver power play is what I like most in this game. All right, Josh, we got to get out of here. I'm going to ask you for your hat trick picks and your goalies in the for this slate. My hat trick pick for tonight is Jesper Bratt, and my goalies are Tristan Jarry and Connor Hellebuck. Who do you like?
Like those goalies, like Demko, if you're spending up a little bit. Let's see. That's really, I mean, obviously Copley at 6,500 on DraftKings. You can take a stab. My hat trick pick is going to be Max Pacioretty.
There you go. Max Pacioretty, Jesper Bratt, your hat trick picks for tonight. We got to get out of here. The NBA guys coming up right after us. Good luck tonight in NHL, everybody. And for Josh, for Mike, we'll see you tomorrow.